Hi, I'm Paul Roberts, and this is Conscious Counseling 101. We have a request today to speak to a specific topic. He writes, currently, I'm unemployed and have been looking for a job since December. It's been very tough. What type of advice do you have for staying motivated and not being discouraged during this time? I said, that's not much to go on. There's a lot of people that are unemployed. There's a lot of people that lack motivation. I'm trying to do something that's not generic. So I said, well, tell me a little bit more if you could, and I might be able to speak more effectively to you. So he writes back and says, he's 39. He has a wife of 2.5 years. They're planning to have kids this year. But with the job loss, they've had to wait a bit longer. So I'll just read it. Since January, I've been trying to make my creative endeavors work to make money, but that has also been very tough. Currently, I have only about a month to make my creative ideas work and provide income, or I'll have to take a much lower paying job than I'm used to. Should I keep trying the creative endeavors until the last minute, or should I be focused on finding a job of equal value to my last? I work in customer support and operations, but my creative endeavor is a podcast that tries to help unemployed and working from home people. Okay, well, I can tell you I've been a creative artist all my life, so almost everything I do is a creative endeavor. This is kind of an exception, but in some ways I use my artistic training and the way I look at things and my analysis of life. And, like if I'm working on something that's artistic related, I have to analyze it. I have to look at it from different ways. I have to decide what I'm going to do with it. I'm going to have to work it a little bit somehow, and I'm going to put it back out there again. I've been doing that all my life. Sculpture, drawing, painting, airbrush, video production, silkscreen, printing, every type of artistic endeavor you can imagine. I went to the Maryland Institute College of Art. I've been an artist all my life. So one of the things I'd like to start off with is not to be discouraging, but that old phrase, don't quit your day job. I'm not saying whether you're good or not, and I'm not saying whether your purpose that you're working at is good or not. I mean, this is good. I try to help people for no cost, right? That's good, right? I certainly can't do anything with it. Maybe your podcast will bring something to you. Maybe it won't. My advice to you as a 58-year-old person who has been married 35 years and have children in their 20s is to do solidity things first. Always substantial solidity things first. And only after that, juggle another ball. What do you do when you start to juggle? Throw a ball, 2 balls, maybe you get to 3. I still can't juggle. But I've watched a lot of jugglers. You're not juggling until you're doing at least 2 balls. And you're really not juggling until you're doing at least 3 balls. Well, you want to get to be a juggler, successful with your creative endeavors in a month period of time? At the very most, you're going to be juggling 3 balls and not very entertaining and not very effective. So I don't want to discourage you from creative endeavors. By all means, I've been doing creative endeavors my entire life. But I know that the only thing that pays is something that people really value and can afford to pay you for. Believe it or not, someone to talk to. Go look. Find someone else. Find someone else that'll talk to you openly and put you first in their life for a while and not charge for it. It can be valuable. I may say nothing here in this time that I'm going to spend with you that's valuable, and you'll say, he's just a guy. What do I waste my time for? Okay? But the point is, I'm trying. And in this particular question, me being an artist all the days of my life, making a living all the days of my life from art. In fact, I don't think I've ever done anything that wasn't art related to make money. I have to go back to my teen years in high school for that. You want to have that be secondary. First, at 39 years old, Get yourself a good job. Be solid for yourself and your wife and your future. And then don't waste your time thinking, this is it. This is all I'm ever going to be. That's when you throw that third ball up in the air and start juggling. Once you've got the job, a decent job, hopefully the pay will be the same. I mean, we're in California. You're dual income, no kids. Heck, you got a good chance of a fighting success rate with your wife helping you out. Even if you were minimum wage, if you just lived decently and not high on the hog, you could do okay, and you could still have extra time, and your curricular activities shouldn't be going down to the pub and hanging out with friends and blowing off time and wasting your time. Your time that you gain by having money and means should be when you give yourself the right and the privilege to use those creative endeavors and see if you can make something out of them. I've had a number of things in my life that I've put a lot of things into that I thought would maybe help, and they haven't. I find that just saying, here's my product, pay me, there you go, that kind of thing has worked. If you don't have anything anchored down, it would be almost, I'm just saying this generically because I don't know very much, it would be almost a miracle for you to get anything majorly accomplished that's life-changing in a month. And by golly, if I were you, I waited 10 years to have kids. Hey, if you're in love with your wife and you know this is the person and this is the way you're going to be and all that, and you're always going to be there for each other, then go ahead and have kids this year at 2.5 years. But if you have any doubts about yourself and who you are, don't do major things like that and bring children into this world. Be solid first, and then everything else will be added on to you. Be solid first. That's my advice. And, I've been solid as an artist all the days of my life, but that's because that's what I am. Okay? I am a creative person. And so I had a lot of things to work with, especially in the old world before computers all, came into being and everything can be done on the computer. And especially in the old world before computer printing can make a 3D thing out of a rendering that you do. I could actually sculpt into reality. I could draw something, paint something, illustrating something into reality in the old conventional ways. Now, when I went and got out of art school, which was in about 1987, I was kind of discouraged because everything I had learned was almost null and void. What mattered was having to learn it all over again for computer. So I really can't comment. I should get off this computer topic, creative topic for a second. How do you become motivated? Let's just switch over to that. I've said enough about creative. How do you become motivated? You have to have a vision of your life purpose and value and worth. And you have to share that with your wife and create one together jointly as one. You have to nail it down, but also be flexible at the same time. And you have to talk practically. Don't express your love to another individual by saying, I'm willing to have a kid with you, and then failing or not coming through. I don't know that you know what that means. Better or for worse. Probably already said that with the vows. Children can make things worse. If you don't already have worse that you do yourself and your wife do to each other. So I would recommend, don't even talk about such a short timeline of having children like that. It took us 10 years. And we're not like everybody else. If you wanted to go on a wing and a prayer, dive right in, take a leap of faith, I guess you can. I think children is probably the single biggest thing in the world, and people treat it just like another rite of passage. This is what I do this year because we've been married long enough, or good enough to be solid enough, with the next natural step to show we love each other and whatever, and in the time period of my my ages and her ages and all that, just another natural step. A lot of people don't treat it as sacredly as they should. That's my opinion. I talk to a lot of people that don't have enough self-value and worth and self-consideration and consciousness, understanding of themselves. One of the reasons I call this conscious counseling is because I have spent a lifetime searching for conscious understanding and self-understanding and self-knowledge and positioning in the world and life value, so that I've done it so much that I've raised my children according to that. I've had spent all my time with my wife according to that of 35 years. And it's what I'm all about. And yet I can't make any money at it because nobody else values it. They don't realize, most of the people in the world don't realize how lost they are. Most of the people don't realize how hopeless they are. Most of the people in the world don't realize that they think they're going to say something and it's just going to work out somehow, and it's much harder than, and it comes out in a way they never anticipated, and all of a sudden they say, oh, it's just too much, and then eventually you get mad at each other, and you're pulling out your hair, and you call it all off. One of the best things you can do is not bring kids into any scenario until you are solid. All right. So what you have as a job qualification is actually a good thing. Customer support and operations. Oh my goodness, in this high-tech world we live in, whew, everybody needs help with everything to sort things out. But unfortunately, just like a ditch digger, I'm not trying to degrade you, anybody that wants to put themselves towards that can either fake it till they make it, or undersell you, say, I'll do worse job than he doesn't want to have. I'll take bad hours, bad pay, whatever. I'll underbid him, and they'll just go in there. At 39 years old, you can easily be beat out by some high school dropouts or people that just want to get in somewhere and make some money. And they're living with roommates and whatnot. If they have 4 or 5 people in the house, they can make things work and they can beat you out. We didn't talk about how professional you are or what your skills are, but that field, if you're top dog in it somehow, if you have some special angle, maybe you can find another in, or maybe you got lucky the first time. But it's not going to be necessarily something that you're going to say, I had a really good tractor when I dug that ditch. I'm going to get another job that allows me to have that same tractor. The next ditch you may be digging by hand. Who knows? But don't just assume that even in a month's time, you're going to get anything comparing to what you had. I mean, we're really good right now. Unemployment's pretty low, and a lot of things are happening. There's a lot of movers and shakers out there. But I can't even guarantee you, even if you give your energies, that you'll even get a job of decency in this month. So definitely my advice is, put that first. Don't diminish your desire for children or your desire to express your love and bonding with your wife. Don't diminish all the other balls you'd like to have in the air. Don't think you're not capable of it, but don't overestimate what you think you're capable of either, and then delude yourself. And eventually you get all the balls up there and they all come crashing down and you go, what was I thinking? Be solid. I asked you about religion. You didn't really say anything on that, but that's pretty important too. Are you doing everything you do for you and your kids eventually and your wife and just satisfaction and trying to keep up with the Joneses and trying to be like having that house with the white picket fence and everything seems to be good and thinking you're finding your happiness that way? Or are you building a solid foundation on something like a rock, okay, that won't be washed away in an earthquake or a tidal wave? Many types of religious points of view talk about that. Obviously, that's a big one that Jesus brings up, to build your solidity on a rock. And I would definitely recommend that. I see a lot of wisdom in what Jesus teaches. And I don't mean Christianity. That's a whole other thing. So I can't even really open this ball of wax right now with you because we didn't really have enough chance to talk about what you're into or what you see as a value or a mentality or what is your conscious structure all about. What are your foundations? We didn't talk about any of these things. So I'm just doing some rough sketches here as a creative artist, which is what I do. You can't compose a master painting or a sculpture until you do. But I'm also not going to be able to help you much more than these general thoughts that I've projected to you, because this is general what you've told me about. And it's normal to have these kinds of things as discussion topic points. So I have approached you in a general way. Hope you realize that I took the time to do this, and I could take more time. And that should, in and of itself, you'd mean something. You would be surprised at how few people comment back and say, hey, thanks for taking the time. You hit on a few points, gave me a few things to think about. You'd be surprised how people just think that everybody in the world is there to serve them, and that's the way it should be. That perspective is limited. And I would warn you and caution you that if you have any tendency to have a perspective like that, which is totally delusional and false, you're limited in your conscious understanding of yourself and your place in the world and your perspective, and you're likely to have hard times ahead. Don't plan for a nice, easy sail. Be ready for the storm. And that's why I once again conclude this video today saying I'll be glad to talk to you more, but solidity first. Creative endeavors and everything else second. Do what you need to do that. And you might get just a job that is going to be okay. It's just a stepping stone to another job. And then finally creative endeavors. And then finally success. And then finally, maybe one day, other things that you'd like. Always solidity, build on the rock first, is my best advice for you, with its generic details as I have to go on. I wish you the best. And if you'd like to talk to me and say, hey, I appreciate you, and you did a few things that touched on, let's talk a little bit more about this or that, let me know. I'm Paul Roberts. This is Conscious Counseling 101.